finally arrived.
Dusk, a game everyone and their grandparents have heard about and most likely played. I mean, how could you not? Everything to the graphics, style, gunplay, and pure, unadulterated, batshit crazy environmental storytelling is near perfect. Published by the titans known as New Blood Interactive, and developed by cutesy-pootsy David Szymanski, and accompanied by the oh-so-talented Andrew Hulshult, aka Andrew Hulshult. Dusk sets out to be, and I quote, a world where butchery and bloodshed must be mastered if you're to survive till dawn. Inspired by Doom, Quake, Blood, Heretic, Hexen, Half-Life, Redneck Rampage, and all of your 90s favorites, while featuring a soundtrack by metal music mastermind Andrew Hulshult. And it does exactly that. And some, and more, and more, and way more. Sprinkle some spooky poo levels, and boom, you have Dusk. So the first episode of the game, The Foothills, is a mid-state, redneck, foresty, cabin-filled, lumberjack aesthetic type beat. So because I'm basically a god of FPS...
Wait, no, scratch that.
Because I'm basically the god of FPS, I decided for my first playthrough of this game to play on Cero Miedo, which means no fear in Spanish.
Excuse my absolutely Spanish accent.
So I had a pretty challenging first playthrough of the game. I felt this was probably a good way for me to get into the game like this, because the game would actually make me use other weapons, besides just shotguns and super shotguns the entire time. So the game starts off with your character, otherwise known as Dusk Dude, not Dusk Guy, you stupid f***ing whore, who is seemingly abducted by three rednecked, leather-wearing, flannel-loving, chainsaw-wielding psychopaths known as Leathernecks. They're basically the Goombas of this game. You begin the game with your iconic Dusk dual-wielded akimbo sickles. You proceed to slice and dice their axillary veins, which subsequently demolishes their subclavian veins, which causes these flannel Goombas to go bloop with red fairy dust. You'll instantly notice this game does not mess around with pacing. This game goes straight to the gut punch, as opposed to certain games with giant intros, or 3-hour-long intro cutscenes looking at you, Death Stranding. Because you're a super sexy, awesome 130 FOV gamer like SaltyCow here, you'll instantly go into settings and change that FOV slider to the perfect God-sent FOV of 130. From here, the game takes off, and I won't go into specifics, but oh boy does it take off. In the first episode, you'll find some groovy weapons. Throughout the course of this beautifully crafted video game, known as Dusk, you find some hot-ass weapons, such as the iconic dual-wielded sickles, which are the equivalent to poo-poo fists from Doom. They still look cool though. The pistols. Literally just a pistol until you find another, which makes it literally just two pistols. Shotguns. A smooth as f*** accurate spread shotgun, reminiscent of OG Doom's sniper default shotgun. Terminator shotguns, aka just the dual-wielded epic shotguns. The iconic, everybody loves it, balls to the walls, pedal to the metal, to the spoils go the victor, all demolishing, super f***ing shotgun, which needs no explanation. The assault rifle, which in games like these I tend to not use because they're usually kind of ass. But this one actually dominates the field, with its damage and good crowd control, accompanied by an actual punchy sound effect for when you shoot. It's hard to say no. The hunting rifle, aka the super shotgun, but with literally no spread. Except it only holds like 15 rounds, which hurts my soul. Now onto the big boy power weapons.
Wait, I probably should have included the hunting rifle there.
But who cares? I'll start off with the mortar. A rocket launcher looking thing which holds like 50 f***ing grenades. It's hyper inaccurate. but deals like a million damage, but bounces all around when you shoot it, and also arches like hella, and is manually detonated. I honestly only found myself using the mortar for the sake of using the mortar. I was not a big fan of having to take all of those factors into account, but it did have some moments where you could lob some grenades over walls and kill enemies while they're still in some corner wanking off without even knowing you're there. Then the magical crossbow that has an arrow that does silly, goofy magic tricks for you, such as this. Now, this bad boy is impressive. Imagine if you had a crossbow, but the arrow is outside of the physical realm, but still kicks massive fat ass. I mean, these arrows pierce through an infinite amount of enemies with the same velocity and damage from when you initially clicked. Did I mention it can also fire through walls? Yeah, you can literally wallbang in a retro-inspired game. It's kind of hot. Then we have the MVP of boss fights, and honestly, the MVP of everything that involves turning enemies into a fine red mist, which is pretty much Dusk as a whole, the big bad Riveter. This gun is literally orgasmic. It's basically a rocket launcher, but with way more damage than a healthy rocket launcher should have, with the added bonus of being totally f***ing awesome. It's basically automatic. It sadly only holds like 25 rounds, but honestly, that's more than enough to wipe out all early game bosses with ease. Then we have a personal favorite, the sword. This bad boy lets you wield the power of a politician by being able to sneakily assassinate people from behind and blaming it on suicide. The sword doesn't make a noise when you kill people, which gives you the unneeded option of stealth. I feel like stealth could have been implemented just a bit more. But it also lets you go absolutely ballistic by giving you the ability to do immense damage when Dusk Dude is above 100 health. And it also lets you block projectiles when above 50 morale, aka armor, but for people who don't wear armor.
Dude, we've got your green power armor over here and ready to go.
Power armor is for pussies.
Well, okay,
And this block projectile mechanic honestly saved my life a few times. I'm not used to blocking projectiles. I'm used to mainly just dodging from other games I've played. But because of some tight corridors and occasional bullet hell segments, I found myself actually blocking occasionally. Good work, David Szymanski. Then last but not least, we have the cigar. Wait, there was a cigar in this game? I honestly never used this thing, but apparently it slowly recovers your health over time. Whoops. Now, this might sound like an overwhelming cast of friends if you aren't used to games where you have like 8+ weapons. Then maybe try playing real games like Doom, Quake, Heretic, and literally any other amazing classic game. Now, even though the guns are all amazing to fire and shoot, I will admit, I do see some as redundant, or just guns that become obsolete as you progress through the game, such as the assault rifle pretty much replacing the pistols completely. Now, they don't share ammo, as some may assume, but they're honestly almost the same weapon, just one is outright better than the other. The only reason I can think of using the pistols on episode 2 and 3 is just for shits and giggles, or because you're out of everything else. Like I mentioned prior, the mortar is probably less redundant or obsolete. It's just kind of a hassle for me to use, and I don't really like how it feels. I don't know why. I honestly have no idea. Then, onto the star of the show. The movement is like a simpler version of Quake bunny hopping, aka CSGO bunny hopping. It's almost as fun as the gameplay itself, being able to jump back and forth to gain the speed of 200 Bugattis. Don't believe me? Here, I'll show you. Anyways, episode 1 has levels that consist of small, seemingly abandoned towns and forests. And near the end of the episode, you enter small facility bunkers and find these weird soldiers, which the game gets into later. The enemies in episode 1, the foothills, include the leathernecks, which I mentioned prior, which are like the Goombas of Dusk, the mages, who are all part of this weird strange cult that has to do with demons and spooky stuff, which are basically the imps of this game as they move around and shoot fireballs at you. Except now that I'm looking at them, they kind of look like another type of evil. Never mind. Then there are the Black Phillips, who are like goats or sheep or something, but all black and gory with like cool horns. These dudes are fast, especially on the difficulty I was playing. Their projectiles are fast as hell, but thank the Lord they aren't very accurate when you stray fast enough. Also, 1 or 2 shotgun blasts to the head, and they should die just as fast as Epstein did when he didn't kill himself. When you reach this haymaze looking level, you meet a pretty damn formidable enemy, known as the Possessed Scarecrow. This isn't the Scarecrow you and your mommy are used to. This Scarecrow isn't gonna frolic with a girl and her dog who just wants a brain. This Scarecrow is gonna camp you, holding a double-barreled shotgun, pretending to be a normal Scarecrow, waiting to blow open your brain. Then there are the Fork Maidens, who honestly are just like tanky versions of the mage from what I know. They didn't seem to add or take anything away from the game. They were just kind of tanky witches. Then, as the episode neared its conclusion, we were introduced to the soldiers, who are guarding some sort of facility that you find during your exploration in the Dusk village. These dudes just have assault rifles and are like really weak. And I mean like really weak. Don't get me wrong, the damage they put out isn't weak. But I wouldn't be surprised if they had less health than the little goat dudes. I mean, these soldiers go down in like 2 to 3 pistol hits. It's ridiculous. Speaking of health, I probably should have mentioned this when talking about weapons in the intro prior, but this game lets you pick up a lot of things, such as, but not limited to, barrels, boxes, hammers, beakers, and just other random useless things. But there's one pickup that isn't so useless, the almighty soap. This bad boy is a tiny, tiny, tiny bar of soap, which when thrown at an enemy, no matter their health, will one-shot them. Yes, this includes bosses. There's 1 bar of soap in like every level. Throughout the episode, you hear a voice occasionally talking to you.
Kill the intruder.
Just a forewarning, this dude will talk to you throughout all 3 episodes of Dusk. As assumed, he's the cult leader, but I won't get too much into that. Each episode has 10 levels. Each level differs in scope and theme to an extent. One level, you'll have the fight of your life and exit through some cave. And the next level, you'll find yourself in a cave with nothing but your flashlight, guns, and wits. The game goes from a seemingly abandoned countryside, riddled with religious cultish freaks,
Sounds a lot like Scientology.
to haunted churches with underground catacombs, to haunted mines, to military bases, to hidden psychedelic nightmare-inducing science labs, which fold over itself. To a complete other dimension with insane visuals and a medieval theme. To the last few levels, which will absolutely blow your mind with what they do with their environmental storytelling and design. Some levels will have you going guns blazing with an insane amount of power-ups, such as Fast Fire, which makes you the fast fire, or fire fast, and some other power-up which lets you climb walls and stuff. In episode 2, you'll also find not just a wall climb power-up, but a special power-up, which super hot fans should look forward to using, winky face. In some other levels, they'll have you falling from a crazy distance into some unknown spooky poo area that just might make you wee-wee your trousers, because when you try to use the already dog shit flashlight, guess what? It's broken. Get mentally prepared for strangely scary jump scares in a low poly game. Episode 2 is where the game fully picks up, I'd say, as it becomes far more of a fighting shooty shoot game as opposed to collectathon key game with occasional fighting, similar to the OG Doom games. Episode 2 is all about the military base and the science base I've been mentioning. It's absolutely amazing, and the music here kicks way too much ass for its own good. I don't know what drugs Andrew Holschult took to make Episode 2's soundtrack so baller, but they're insane. After some exploring, you end up finding a portal to maybe hell? I'm honestly not fully sure. I don't know if the game fully explained it at all. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention because I was too busy doing crazy trick shots with like bee hopping to fucking awesome songs. Episode 3, the absolute unit of an episode. The first level starts off pretty normal for a retro game like this. Hellish scenery, some caves, some castles, a sword you find, etc, etc. But that's not all this last episode 3 is going to be bringing you. It'll be surprising you with the environments. It'll completely knock your socks off, and your rocks off. You'll go from medieval hellish castles to volcanoes underneath snow, to a straight up deathmatch looking arena that gets flooded with water, to a genuinely frightening level filled with these weird ass long headed big mouth dudes that scare the living shit out of you. At level 5 of episode 3 is where the episode really takes its big boy turn, and you get to see that shit really does indeed go down here. The game gets filled with new enemies, like the Bone Monk, which is kinda like a cacodemon from Doom mixed with a Blaze from Minecraft. And these really weird balls with eyes or holes that shoot out skulls from all sides. And one of my favorite additions of episode 3 is definitely the cart dog. A weird-ass dog with no legs at all, who's tied up to a cart with wheels that charges at you doing massive damage, similar to the Pinkies from Doom 2016 and Eternal. Without getting into spoilers, the farther you go down into episode 3, the closer you get to the final confrontation with the big bad boy, the cult leader who I won't be naming. The levels that lead up to the final level are absolutely insane. As much as it hurts me to say, as the FPS god, I genuinely almost lowered my difficulty at a certain part of the episode. Level 9.
Show us.
Oh my god, Zach, I don't think I can play at this difficulty anymore. I think I have to lower the difficulty. Zach? Zach, can you hear me? Zach? Dusk will throw everything it has at you in episode 3, but it'll also amaze you with its strangely beautiful locations you'll be visiting. I wish I could geek out about episode 3 more, but if I had the episode spoiled for me, I wouldn't have experienced it firsthand. It's that time, my sexy first-person shooter, 130 FOV gamers. It's time for my final thoughts, aka the conclusion. The game is iconic. I mean, the game is really iconic. It's definitely ingrained itself into the FPS history, and for a long time was the poster child of New Blood, and for good reason. Buy this game. It's worth every single penny you pay. $20 for a 30-level game filled with 3 secret levels and crazy action with an awesome soundtrack is a steal. Sure, you could wait until there's a sale, but why wait? Easy 8 out of 10 for me. Would definitely recommend. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. This is my first time I've ever done a review or overview of a game. Kinda trying to get used to the formula and make it like fit my own style. So I'm sorry if I ever got information wrong about the game or made any mistakes like naming an enemy wrong or accidentally, I don't know, saying something incorrect. But I'm planning on making other reviews slash overviews of other FPS titles that have the same like Doomish formula with the 8 weapons or whatever, and with the billion key cards and like cool stuff like that. And yeah, that's about it. I'd love to hear your opinions on what I could do better in the comments. And yeah, all right, guys, stay salty. Adios.